Hi, everybody. I'm Gail Minogue. I'm the numerologist who likes to speak about numbers and also trends and cycles. So that's what we're going to do today. So I look forward to the next few minutes with you. And today I'm going to be speaking about the number 2 and the year we're in, which is 2023, and the 1,000 years of the number 2, which goes from 2000 to 2,999. This is extremely important to realize the changes that you are going to experience and the ones you already have. Because 2, and the number 2 in the 2000, is really the number of cooperation, it is the number of persuasion, it is the number of tact, it is the number of what I would call dependent ending and more interdependent beginning. So you're seeing a lot of change in this transition period from 2000 to 2020-24, which is like what I call a prep period. And in 2024 is some of these changes begin to be seen, but it will take the rest of the 20s before we're out of the chaos. So just kind of buckle your seatbelts and be prepared for chaos from 2023 to 2030. So the 20s are all about learning how to stop being just number one and independent and all that stuff, and being forced to work with people you distinctly dislike. Also learn cooperation, learn to be not Mr. Lone Ranger. It's a whole series of stopping and beginning a new way of living. And you're going to really see it next year in 2024 when we have some major transits occur, and that's the sign of Pluto going into the sign of air, Aquarius. You have the beginning from the I Ching, and the book of Tao is the Jupiter period where women of middle age really step into and rise in power. And they've been preparing since 2000 began. Because remember, the 2 is a feminine number. It's not a masculine number. So the more the whole population of the world can respect the female and can respect a more cooperative energy, the less turmoil there will be. And if you look at the last thousands of years where we've had the patriarchy and men running the show, we've had more wars, we settle things with fights, and we have more violence in societies. It's very much tied to that number 1, I'm independent, it's my way or the highway, and that is not going to work in the 2000s. So it's something we have never experienced in thousands of years, and so we're about to begin it, and this is just the preliminary period. So don't expect everybody to do kumbaya and all that stuff, but we're working our way towards it. As you will see in these clashes around the world, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Israel, I don't care where it is, those are the big ones that are making the press, that the outcome will depend on some type of cooperation on the parties involved. And this is very much, and they're stalling right now before there's an invasion at this time of this filming into Gaza, but it will remain to be seen of what the ending and the political ending will be, because it will be one. And so it takes time, and it takes a turning of the head and mind how this will be resolved. So it will be resolved by that method of cooperation, interdependence, persuasion versus force. Force is not going to work as well as it has. So a lot of these people from Jinping to, right down the line, from Putin and all of them, all these authoritarian patriarchy men who have been in power too long, from emperors to pharaohs to kings to dictators to authoritarians, they're all men, all men. And this is ceasing to end. Now, in my lifetime, I'm not going to see the big result of this, but those who come after me and those after them are going to see the effects of a world that is ending a very violent period of its time. So you have a couple of things working. You have the big number 2, you have this big female middle-aged power coming into play next year. She's been preparing quietly through a lot of slow power moves into businesses and government And women do very well in politics. You're going to see many more of these men being replaced by females in the years ahead. And the extreme, what I call cementing of the female into the society and power will be from 2024 to 2044. So you have the cycles of time, you have the constellations affecting us. The whole age is in an age of Aquarius, which is very different than the prior age, or the age of Pisces, which is based on the tool of fear. So a lot of us are still extremely fear-based. We're full of fear, anxiety, being left out, all this kind of stuff. And so you'll see a more inclusive period going forward. But right now, people are just fighting. They're just fighting with themselves internally and externally. And you see it being played out right now in the House of Representatives and these nut jobs running around, hanging on to power. Incidentally, when an empire is in its remaining days, shall we say, okay, you begin to see the politicians act as performers. It's the sixth stage of an ending of an empire. So the empire, as we know, the Republic of the United States, is closing as we knew it. And this will take time, but it's ending, and another country will begin to fill the role that we have played. And my guess, it will be China, and that's just gradually on the rise now, but they're extremely advanced, but they haven't gotten down to what the people are about. So these are big changes that are going to be coming, and it will take years for them to play out. But in the meantime, while a lot of this ends and begins, you're going to see tumultuous 20s. So hang on to your seatbelt, get out of fear. You're not going to be able to control this, okay? You can direct it, that's it. And the heavens are really running the show. The big numbers are running the show. Pay attention to the female. Where females in the United States will do well will be in politics. And if you are in politics, you can influence people, and you can get laws passed and propositions done and persuade. So the political realm is easy for women to get into. You don't need a college degree. You don't need special training. Unfortunately, there isn't any training for this, but this is an easy field for women to enter. And so I will say that you will see more and more of them in positions of power in politics, making the rules, making the laws, all that kind of stuff, and influencing. And you will also see them in the banking financial ends. So these are areas where women will shine. And one of the things that is the big myths you never hear about is this, what we call the greatest generation, which was World War II, and the people who took the country and kept it together during that period. And women went to work. 6 million of them entered the workforce during World War II. How did they do that? Who took care of the kids? The government did. They opened child care centers, and they made sure there was child care of the women who went to work. So what's wrong with this picture today? You want workers? We don't have enough workers. We have a lot of women who want to go to work, but they need child care. So the government has to start looking at, and we have to start influencing the government to be able to allow these females to get back in the workforce. And I do believe that will be one of the big influences that women will push for as they come into more power. And that's only right. If you want another great generation, you got to supply the tools. And the tool of World War II was child care centers being put together and paid and sponsored by the United States government. So we have a ways to go, but I just want you to take a look. Another thing, the number 2, is people who have a prominent number 2, like they're born on a 2 day, or their date of birth adds to the number 2, like their month, day, and year reduces to the number 2. These are your peacekeepers. These are your people who are trying to really bring factious groups together. They have what we call the light. And now, if you do not have a 2 in your name, which means you don't have the letter B, or you don't have the letter K, or you don't have the letter T, these are all forms of the number 2, then you have a karmic condition in your chart that you have to learn these things: tact, persuasion, diplomacy, cooperation, interdependence, qualities of the number 2. You have to learn these. So this is something where if you do not have a 2 in your name, you need to be very careful of being what I call all those qualities, but not losing your identity. Some people just want to please so badly that they lose their own identity, they become doormats. You don't want to do that. So this is a powerful time to take a look at your own chart, make sure you have a B, K, or T in there, and if not, start to cultivate necessarily how you affect other people. It's not about you anymore, it's about how you affect other people, and pay attention to that. And also, do not lose your identity while you try to please and cooperate. That's a no-no. You don't want to be a doormat. So that's all just concentrated around the number 2. It's a great time if you understand the underlying purpose of this period. It's to rise up into a more cooperative period of our existence. And you can't see it yet, but this is the fight to the death finish of an old patriarchal order coming to a close. It's going to take time, but it will happen. And remember, we're not in control. We can only direct. So again, I always appreciate you staying with me one of these YouTubes. If you need to reach me, you can at gailminogue.com. I have a terrific book that's easy for you to understand called Divine Design, How You Created the Life You Are Living. And I'm going to talk about that in another video on how you named yourself and how you entered this life, chose your sex, and all that stuff. That's on a second video. So thank you very much. I appreciate your listening and watching.